In the year 2053, deep inside one of Switzerland's top secret labs, a woman named Dr. Avon Davidson was working on a concept that had remained on the border of myth and reality for centuries: time travel. She was a quantum physicist, an AI researcher, and a metaphysical author, a layered mind staring simultaneously into the past and the future. One night, her experiment malfunctioned, an error with only one solution: entry. With a flash of light and a sound like a universe tearing apart, Dr. Avon vanished. When she opened her eyes, she was in the middle of a crowded bazaar, in a city full of clay buildings, echoing with bells and the call to prayer, and people in long robes and scarves. Her mind buzzed with paradoxes. She soon realized she was in Baghdad, during the golden era of the House of Wisdom, around the 4th century, the time of Aristotle, Plato, Euclid, and Ptolemy. Brilliant but delicate era. She wore nanofabric clothes, a wrist device that analyzed data instead of ticking, and carried a brain full of quantum theories, gene therapy, and cryptography. The first days were tough. Her Arabic was formal and academic, but the dialects of the people were foreign to her. She looked strange, her clothes unlike anyone else's, and her manner felt more like the angels from old tales. But soon, she learned how to survive in this world. She entered the House of Wisdom, where the greatest minds gathered to translate texts from Greek, Indian, and Persian sources. But her knowledge from the future was beyond even dreams. Avon quietly began teaching the basics of real chemistry, not alchemy, human anatomy using precise models, non-Euclidean geometry, and the foundations of logical machines, something resembling a computer. She inspired a young student named Yusuf, who later became a great historian, to write the first notebook on binary calculations. The more she interfered, the greater the temporal paradoxes became. Innovations meant for the 21st century slowly began to surface in the 10th. And this was a kind of temporal earthquake. At night, glancing at her device, she received strange data: probability of premature human extinction in 12 centuries, 83%. Avon realized that despite her good intentions, her presence could steer history so far off course that humanity would descend into early darkness instead of enlightenment. One quiet night, in a courtyard filled with incense and palms, Yusuf asked her, "Where did you come from? How do you know things not even Plato knew?" She looked at the moon and, for the first time, smiled with a taste of tears. "I come from a place you should never have to see." Through immense effort, and with only the math she chalked on a House of Wisdom's walls, she built a portal of light and vibration during a stormy night. Yusuf was the only one present that night. Just before the jump, Avon told him, "If someone ever comes again, don't fear them. But don't let them stay too long." And she was gone. Avon never returned to her own time. No trace of her was found in the lab. But centuries later, in a lost manuscript from Baghdad, someone wrote, "There was a woman from the stars. She brought us knowledge, but left so we could find our own path." 10 years later. Yusuf said this: "Years have passed. Yet I cannot forget the sound of that night, the night the sky thundered and a woman from the future disappeared like light in the dark. I used to call her Avon, not because I knew her true name, but because she reminded me of a night wind, gentle, mysterious, and full of meaning. What she taught me took years to even begin to understand. She spoke of invisible particles that made up the world, of bending time, and of machines that think. She once said, 'Time is not a line, Yusuf. It's like this paper, flat until you fold it. Then, beginning and end touch.' After she vanished, I wrote everything she told me in a secret notebook. I named it The Book of Fallen Stars. In it, I wrote about carriages that move without horses, people speaking through sparks in the air, cities taller than mountains, and medicine made of invisible liquids. I knew that if someone found it, they might burn me as a heretic. But Avon had said, if even one soul understands this in the future, it will have been worth it. Many years later, I was old and tired. I dreamed she returned. She looked the same, only brighter. She sat beside me, held my hand, and said, "You wrote well, Yusuf. Just enough. But don't let this knowledge separate you from being human." I asked her, "Will you come back?" She smiled and said, "Perhaps." When humanity learns that the future isn't a place to live in, but something to earn the right to see, I buried the book beneath an old pillar in the House of Wisdom. On its cover I wrote, "For the one who comes from the stars." If you can read this, know we saw the light, but were not wise enough to keep it. Centuries later, in a remote dig site in eastern Baghdad, a young archaeologist named Dr. Alina Davidson discovered a metal box. If you enjoyed this story, please like and subscribe so you won't miss our next videos. Also, if you'd like me to tell you part 2 of this story, let me know in the comments.